Introduction. The two wings of awakening. The Buddha often described the path to liberation using a simple yet profound image. A bird requires two wings to fly. No matter how strong one wing may be, the bird cannot rise into the open sky without the other. Likewise, a human being cannot fully awaken without the harmonious development of wisdom and compassion, the two wings of enlightenment. These two qualities are not merely virtues to be admired. They are living forces, transformative energies capable of dissolving suffering at its root. They liberate the mind, soften the heart, and open the doorway to a peaceful, unshakable way of being. The Buddha's teachings remind us that awakening is not a distant state reserved for monks or saints. It is the natural unfolding of every human heart when these two wings are cultivated. In this introduction, we will explore the meaning, depth, and practical implication of these two wings. We will look at how wisdom and compassion operate individually, how they complement one another, and how they become inseparable in the awakened mind. May this reflection serve as a guiding light for your own path of inner peace. 1. The nature of wisdom, panya. Wisdom in the Buddhist path is not intellectual achievement, not philosophical argument, and not knowledge accumulated from books. True wisdom is seeing reality as it truly is, uncluttered by illusions, biases, and emotional distortions. The Buddha taught that ignorance, not seeing clearly, is the root of all suffering. Ignorance causes us to cling to what is impermanent, chase what cannot satisfy, and resist what is natural and unavoidable. Wisdom cuts through this darkness like a lantern illuminating the night. 1.1 Seeing impermanence. Everything that arises will pass away. Every moment fades into the next. Every breath appears and dissolves. To a mind clouded by ignorance, this truth brings fear, denial, and attachment, but to the mind touched by wisdom, impermanence becomes the teacher of freedom. We learn to appreciate the present moment, to release clinging, and to soften into the flow of life. 1.2 Seeing non-self. Non-self does not mean that we do not exist. It means we do not exist as a separate, independent entity. Our bodies are made of earth, water, air, and life itself. Our thoughts are shaped by culture, memories, genetics, emotions, and countless unseen conditions. There is no fixed me anywhere, only a constantly flowing process. When wisdom sees this truth, the ego relaxes, the sense of separation dissolves, and a natural compassion arises for all beings who share this same fragile human experience. 1.3 Seeing dependent origination. Everything exists because of other things. Nothing stands alone. A tree depends on sunlight, soil, rain, air. A child depends on love, food, safety. A thought depends on memory, sensation, past experience. This interconnectedness is the fabric of reality. Wisdom is understanding this reality directly, not as an idea but as a living experience. It is seeing how every action, every word, and every thought affects the world. 1.4 Freedom through insight. When wisdom matures, it brings freedom. Freedom from gripping desires. Freedom from fear of the future. Freedom from regret of the past. Freedom from the heavy burden of I and mine. This is the first wing of awakening. 2. The nature of compassion, karuna. If wisdom is the clear seeing of the mind, compassion is the open warmth of the heart. It is the natural response to suffering, the wish for all beings, including ourselves, to be free from pain. Many people misunderstand compassion as weakness or sentimentality. But true compassion is an immense strength. It is the courage to face suffering rather than avoid it, the willingness to love even when life is difficult, and the gentle capacity to hold others' pain without collapsing. 2.1 Compassion begins with ourselves. The Buddha taught that we cannot offer others what we do not offer ourselves. If the heart is filled with self-judgment, harshness, and guilt, compassion becomes distorted or impossible. Self-compassion is not selfishness. It is taking responsibility for our inner world. It is recognizing our own suffering, embracing our own humanity, and treating ourselves with the same kindness we would offer a dear friend. 2.2 Compassion for others. Compassion expands naturally when we understand that all beings share the same vulnerability. Everyone wishes to be happy. Everyone fears loss and pain. Everyone carries invisible struggles and silent wounds. When we see this clearly, harshness melts, judgments soften, we begin to listen more deeply, speak more gently, and act with greater care. 2.3 Compassion that does not burden. True compassion is not pity, not rescuing, and not losing ourselves in others' emotions. It is a balanced, wise tenderness that recognizes suffering without being overwhelmed by it. This kind of compassion stays steady like a mountain, calm like a lake, and warm like sunlight. 2.4 Compassion as action. Compassion becomes powerful when it moves from feeling into action. Words of support, gestures of generosity, acts of forgiveness. These are the expressions of a compassionate heart. Even small actions can ripple outward in immeasurable ways. The Buddha taught that no act of kindness is ever wasted. This is the second wing of awakening. 3. Why wisdom without compassion is incomplete. Wisdom alone can become cold, dry, and detached. It may lead to spiritual pride or intellectual arrogance. A person may understand profound truths, but without compassion, the heart remains closed. Without compassion, wisdom becomes unbalanced, seeing the truth but unable to connect with others. Detached, understanding suffering but not responding to it. Isolated, living inside intellectually but not emotionally. Wisdom removes illusions, but compassion gives life meaning. A bird cannot fly with only one wing. 4. Why compassion without wisdom is also incomplete. Compassion without wisdom can become sentimental, overwhelming, or misguided. It can lead us to make decisions based on emotion rather than clarity. It can cause burnout, confusion, or dependency. Without wisdom, compassion becomes naive, trying to save everyone without understanding deeper causes. Blind, giving in ways that may harm more than help. Exhausting, carrying burdens that are not ours to carry. Compassion opens the heart, but wisdom keeps the heart healthy. Again, a single wing cannot lift a bird into the sky. 5. The union of wisdom and compassion. Awakening occurs when wisdom and compassion merge into one inseparable force. This union is the essence of the Buddha's teachings. 5.1 Wisdom purifies compassion. With wisdom, compassion becomes intelligent, We understand what truly helps. We know when to act, when to speak, and when to remain still. We offer kindness without attachment or expectation. 5.2 Compassion deepens wisdom. When we open our hearts to the suffering of others, the illusion of separation dissolves. Compassion becomes a gateway to understanding non-self. Through compassion, wisdom becomes warm, embodied, and meaningful. 5.3 The two wings move together. When one wing strengthens, the other naturally grows. Meditation on compassion softens the mind so wisdom can arise. Meditation on insight clarifies the mind so compassion can flow. This harmony is the essence of the enlightened mind. A mind that sees clearly and loves deeply. 6. The two wings in daily life. These teachings are not meant only for monks in monasteries. They are practical instructions for all of us, in every moment of everyday life. 6.1 In relationships. Wisdom helps us understand others' pain. Compassion helps us respond with patience and kindness. Wisdom sees causes and conditions behind every action. Compassion forgives and moves forward. 6.2 In difficult situations. Wisdom sees clearly what is happening. Compassion chooses the response that brings the least harm. Wisdom observes the emotion. Compassion soothes the heart. 6.3 In decision-making. Wisdom analyzes the situation. Compassion considers the human impact. Wisdom asks, "Is it true?" Compassion asks, "Is it kind?" Together, they guide us toward the path of peace. 7. The Buddha's example. The life of the Buddha himself is the perfect embodiment of these two wings. He spent years searching for truth, cultivating profound wisdom. But his wisdom was not dry or detached. It was infused with boundless compassion. After awakening, he spent 45 years teaching, guiding, and uplifting humanity. He taught kings and beggars, monks and criminals, people of all castes and conditions. His compassion knew no boundaries, and his wisdom knew no fear. This balance is the heart of why his teachings continue to transform lives thousands of years later. 8. How to cultivate the two wings. 8.1 Meditation on wisdom. Practices that cultivate insight include mindfulness of breath, observing thoughts and emotions, contemplating impermanence, studying the nature of reality. These practices refine awareness and reveal the truth hidden beneath habit and illusion. 8.2 Meditation on compassion. Practices that cultivate compassion include loving kindness meditation, metta, compassion for suffering beings, forgiveness meditation, gratitude reflection. These practices open the heart and dissolve barriers. 8.3 Daily application. The true practice is daily life itself. Every interaction is a lesson. Every challenge is an opportunity. Every moment offers a choice to respond with wisdom and compassion. 9. The result: a peaceful, awakened mind. When the two wings are developed, the mind becomes light, suffering loses its weight, the heart becomes tender yet unshakable. Wisdom reveals the truth, compassion expresses the truth, and peace becomes the natural state of being. This is the path the Buddha offered to the world, not a religion, not a belief system, but a way of living with clarity and love. Conclusion. The two wings of awakening is a reminder that enlightenment is not found through thinking alone nor through feeling alone. It is the harmonious balance of a clear mind and a loving heart. Wisdom sees. Compassion responds. Together, they lift the human spirit beyond suffering and into true freedom. May these words inspire your own journey toward awakening. May you cultivate both wings with patience, courage, and joy. May you discover the peaceful heart the Buddha spoke of. A heart as vast as the sky, filled with wisdom, filled with compassion, free from all suffering. Understanding wisdom. Seeing reality as it truly is. Wisdom, Panya in Pali, is the heart of the Buddha's teaching. While compassion opens the heart, wisdom opens the eyes. It allows us to see the world without the distortions of craving, fear, ego, and ignorance. Without wisdom, the mind wanders in confusion like a traveler lost in the desert, grasping at mirages. With wisdom, the same mind becomes steady, clear, and awakening unfolds naturally. The Buddha taught that wisdom is not something given by a teacher nor obtained from scriptures alone. It arises when the mind begins to see things as they really are, not as we wish them to be, not as we fear them to be, and not as we imagine them to be. To see reality clearly is to break the chains of delusion that bind the heart to suffering. This teaching, understanding wisdom, seeing reality as it truly is one of the most profound and essential aspects of the Buddhist path. In this exposition, we will explore what wisdom truly means, how it operates in the world, how it is cultivated, and how it liberates the heart. 1. What does it mean to see reality as it truly is? To see reality as it truly is means to perceive the nature of phenomena without distortion, confusion, or attachment. The Buddha identified three fundamental characteristics inherent in all things: impermanence, anicca; suffering or unsatisfactoriness, dukkha; non-self, anatta. These three truths are not metaphysical theories. They are descriptions of how existence actually operates. Wisdom arises when the mind directly experiences these truths. 1.1 Impermanence. Everything is changing. The Buddha repeatedly emphasized that all conditioned things are impermanent. Our bodies change. Our emotions change. Relationships shift. Beliefs evolve. Fortunes rise and fall. Nothing remains the same from one moment to the next. The problem is not impermanence itself. Impermanence allows growth, healing, and renewal, but our refusal to accept it. Wisdom is accepting that change is the nature of reality. Ignorance is fighting against change. The one who sees impermanence clearly becomes free from attachment. They understand that clinging to something unstable only brings suffering. They begin to appreciate each moment as precious, fleeting, and miraculous. 1.2 Suffering. The unstable nature of conditioned existence. When we cling to what changes, the heart becomes burdened. When we resist what is natural, the mind becomes restless. This is dukkha, the dissatisfaction that arises from wanting things to be other than they are. Wisdom does not deny suffering, it penetrates suffering. It sees the arising and passing of painful emotions. The way desire creates anxiety, and the way ego creates conflict. To understand suffering is the beginning of freedom. 1.3 Non-self. The absence of a permanent identity. The concept of non-self is perhaps the most transformative teaching of the Buddha. Wisdom recognizes that what we call I is a collection of processes, body, sensations, perceptions, thoughts, consciousness. None of these are stable. None of these are truly mine. None of these constitute a permanent, separate self. Seeing non-self weakens ego, pride, and fear. It strengthens compassion, humility, and peace. To see non-self is to see reality without the filter of me and mine. 2. The obstacles that prevent clear seeing. The Buddha taught that delusion, moha, clouds the mind, making it difficult to perceive reality clearly. Several forces create this delusion. 2.1 Craving, Tana. When we desire something intensely, the mind becomes biased. We see only what supports our desire. Craving creates illusions of permanence and satisfaction where there are none. 2.2 Aversion, dosa. Hatred, anger, and fear distort reality by exaggerating faults, creating enemies where none exist, and causing the mind to contract. 2.3 Ignorance, avijja. Ignorance is not a lack of information. It is misunderstanding the nature of reality. It is taking the impermanent as permanent, the unsatisfactory as satisfying, and the not-self as self. These three forces, craving, aversion, ignorance, are the three poisons. They color perception and keep the mind trapped in suffering. 3. Wisdom begins with seeing clearly. The Buddha taught that wisdom arises from three stages: hearing or studying, sutta maya panya; reflection, cinta maya panya; direct experience, bhavana maya panya. True wisdom is experiential, not theoretical. 3.1 Learning the teachings. Scriptures, teachers, and teachings act as a map. They point the way. They provide direction, clarity, and guidance. But a map is not the destination. 3.2 Reflecting deeply. Reflection allows the mind to examine teachings in the light of experience. It transforms information into understanding. 3.3 Meditative insight. Insight meditation, vipassana, reveals the truth directly. Observing the breath, sensations, thoughts, and emotions moment by moment allows us to see impermanence, suffering, and non-self in real time. This direct seeing is wisdom. 4. What wisdom looks like in daily life. Wisdom is not only something realized in meditation rooms. It shows itself in everyday actions, decisions, and relationships. 4.1 Wisdom responds, not reacts. A wise person does not react blindly out of habit. They pause, observe, and understand before responding. Wisdom brings calmness even in difficult situations. 4.2 Wisdom knows what truly matters. It sees the difference between momentary pleasure and lasting peace. It knows that inner peace is more valuable than winning an argument, being praised, or having more possessions. 4.3 Wisdom sees causes and conditions. Nothing happens without conditions. A wise mind looks deeply. Why did this happen? What conditions created it? How can I respond skillfully? This prevents blame, anger, and impulsiveness. 4.4 Wisdom is humble. The more a person sees clearly, the less arrogance they possess. They understand that everyone is shaped by circumstances, and that all beings share the same fragility and impermanence. 4.5 Wisdom cultivates peace. Clear seeing naturally reduces craving and fear. The mind becomes lighter. The heart becomes softer. Peace becomes a natural state. 5. Wisdom and the nature of thought. The Buddha taught that much of our suffering arises not from reality, but from the stories the mind creates about reality. Thoughts are not facts. Feelings are not instructions. Perceptions are not perfect. When the mind observes thoughts as passing phenomena, it stops being controlled by them. Wisdom recognizes the constructed nature of mental experience. A thought arises. I am not good enough. Wisdom sees. This is just a thought, not a truth. A fear arises. Something bad will happen. Wisdom sees. This is just a feeling, not destiny. A memory arises. They hurt me. Wisdom sees. This is an old image, not happening now. Seeing this clearly breaks the cycle of emotional suffering. 6. The freedom that comes from clear seeing. Wisdom frees the mind in several profound ways. 6.1 Freedom from attachment. Attachment falls away because the mind understands the changing nature of things. 6.2 Freedom from fear. Fear diminishes because the mind no longer clings to the idea of a permanent self that needs protection. 6.3 Freedom from conflict. Conflict reduces because the wise person sees the humanity of others and understands conditions behind actions. 6.4 Freedom from illusion. False beliefs dissolve. Expectations soften. The mind lives more in the present. 6.5 Freedom to love. When ego weakens, compassion flows naturally. Wisdom and love are not separate, they support one another. 7. Cultivating the eye of wisdom. Wisdom is cultivated through consistent practice. The Buddha emphasized 5 essential practices. 7.1 Mindfulness, sati. Mindfulness is the foundation of wisdom. It brings clarity and presence. It reveals the reality of each moment without judgment. 7.2 Concentration, samadhi. A calm and steady mind can see truth more clearly, just like still water reflects the moon. 7.3 Investigation, Dhammavichaya. Question everything. Examine the nature of experience. Explore how the mind creates suffering. 7.4 Ethical living, sila. A moral life reduces mental agitation. A peaceful mind sees clearly. 7.5 Letting go, vasaga. The more we let go of attachments, the clearer the mind becomes. 8. Stories from the Buddha illustrating wisdom. 8.1 The parable of the snake. The Buddha said many people grasp his teachings the way someone might grab a snake wrongly, by the tail. This leads to harm, but grasping the snake by the neck, understanding the teachings correctly, brings safety. Wisdom is not memorizing teachings, but understanding them deeply. 8.2 The raft. The Buddha compared the Dharma to a raft used to cross a river. Once you reach the other side, you do not carry the raft on your back. In the same way, wisdom lets go, even of the teachings themselves, once they have served their purpose. 8.3 The finger and the moon. The teachings point to the truth like a finger points to the moon. A fool focuses on the finger. A wise person looks to the moon. Wisdom sees beyond words to reality itself. 9. Wisdom and compassion. Two sides of the same reality. Wisdom without compassion becomes cold. Compassion without wisdom becomes blind. The Buddha taught that wisdom and compassion arise together in an awakened mind. When we see the world clearly, kindness flows naturally. When the heart opens, insight deepens. A mind that sees reality as it truly is cannot hate. It cannot cling. It cannot be unkind. Wisdom is compassion. Compassion is wisdom. 10. The final fruit of wisdom, liberation. The ultimate purpose of wisdom is liberation from suffering. Wisdom cuts through the illusions that bind the heart. When the mind sees clearly, craving weakens. Aversion softens. Ignorance dissolves. Ego loses its dominance. Peace becomes natural. Love becomes effortless. This is nibbana, the extinguishing of the fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. Not a place, but a state of freedom. Not an escape, but a profound awakening. Wisdom is the path. Wisdom is the light. Wisdom is the liberating power that allows the human heart to transcend suffering. Conclusion. To see reality as it truly is the essence of the Buddha's wisdom. It is to understand impermanence, suffering, and non-self, not intellectually, but directly. It is to free the mind from craving, aversion, and ignorance. It is to live with clarity, peace, and compassion. Wisdom is not far away. It is already within us, waiting to be uncovered through mindfulness, investigation, and sincere practice. May the eye of wisdom open in your heart. May you see clearly. May clarity lead to peace. May peace lead to awakening. Understanding compassion. The heart that embraces all beings. Compassion is one of the most radiant qualities taught by the Buddha. A virtue that shines like the moon reflected upon a still lake. Gentle yet illuminating enough to guide countless beings toward understanding, healing, and liberation. In the Buddha's teachings, compassion, karuna, is not merely an emotion, nor is it a fragile sentiment that fades with changing circumstances. Instead, compassion is a profound and stable force. A boundless intention arising from wisdom and rooted in the deep recognition that all beings share the same longing to be free from suffering. Compassion is the softening of the heart, but it is also the awakening of clarity. It is tenderness infused with insight, love guided by understanding, and kindness strengthened by equanimity. It is the capacity to embrace the entirety of life with gentle hands, not clinging to what is pleasant, not rejecting what is unpleasant, and not closing one's eyes to the suffering that permeates this world. The Buddha often described compassion as one of the two wings of awakening, the other being wisdom. Just as a bird cannot fly with only one wing, the heart of awakening cannot unfold without compassion. Wisdom sees clearly, but compassion reaches out. Wisdom understands the cause of suffering, but compassion moves to alleviate it. Together, they make the path whole, balanced, and complete. In this teaching, we explore the essence of compassion as understood in the Dharma, what it is, how it arises, how it grows, how the Buddha embodied it, and how we can cultivate it in our own daily lives. Through this exploration, may the heart gently open, like a lotus rising unstained from the muddy water. 1. The nature of compassion. A heart that cannot turn away. Compassion arises from the clear perception that suffering exists. When the Buddha first beheld sickness, aging, and death, his heart trembled with compassion. He did not turn away. Nor did he rationalize the suffering as fate or punishment. Instead, he allowed himself to truly see, to recognize that suffering is universal, inevitable, and deeply woven into the fabric of human existence. Compassion begins with this simple but profound willingness to see. To see the elderly person walking slowly. To see the sick person struggling with pain. To see the child crying from loneliness. To see the anger in another as a mask for fear. To see the cruelty of someone as evidence of their confusion. To see that even those who harm others are trapped in the prison of their own suffering. Compassion does not arise from judgment, it arises from understanding. It does not grow from aversion but from intimate, courageous contact with reality. The Buddha taught that true compassion is unconditional. It does not ask whether someone is deserving. It does not divide beings into friend or enemy, worthy or unworthy. Instead, compassion recognizes that every being longs for happiness yet struggles with ignorance, desire, fear, and delusion. Because we all share this vulnerability, compassion is the most natural of responses. 2. Compassion and the Four Noble Truths. Compassion is inseparable from the Buddha's first teaching, the Four Noble Truths. There is suffering. Compassion begins with acknowledging this truth without denial. Suffering has causes. Compassion understands that suffering arises not from punishment or destiny but from ignorance, craving, and aversion. Suffering can end. Compassion holds the possibility of liberation for all beings, even those hardened by hatred or lost in confusion. There is a path that ends suffering. Compassion moves us to walk this path not only for our own sake but for the benefit of others. The Buddha's realization of the Four Noble Truths was an act of compassion. His entire teaching career, 45 years of continuous guidance, counsel, and kindness, arose from his boundless concern for the welfare of all beings. Thus, when we contemplate compassion, we must see it not as an ornament of the Dharma but as its very foundation. 3. How compassion arises. Seeing oneself in all beings. The Buddha taught that compassion arises naturally when we recognize our interconnectedness. When we look deeply, we see that other beings are not separate from us. They feel joy and pain just as we do. They fear death and long for safety just as we do. They wish to be understood, supported, and loved just as we do. In the Metta Sutta, the Buddha said, "Just as a mother protects her only child with her life, so should one cultivate a boundless heart toward all beings." This comparison is profound. A mother's love is instinctive, fierce, and unconditional. The Buddha invites us to extend that tenderness not just to our kin but to every living creature, even those we fear, disagree with, or do not understand. Compassion arises when we cultivate a heart that says, "Your suffering is my concern. Your well-being matters to me. Your happiness is not separate from my own." This is not sentimental idealism, it is spiritual clarity. When the illusion of separateness dissolves, compassion emerges effortlessly, like a spring bubbling up from the earth. 4. Compassion and wisdom. Two aspects of one reality. Without wisdom, compassion may become sentimental, naive, or overwhelming. Without compassion, wisdom may become cold, detached, or prideful. The Buddha taught that wisdom and compassion must function together like the inhalation and exhalation of the breath. Wisdom sees what is. Compassion responds to what is seen. Wisdom recognizes impermanence, non-self, and the causes of suffering. Compassion responds with kindness, patience, generosity, and goodwill. When we see clearly that all beings are subject to causes and conditions beyond their control, compassion naturally arises. We recognize that no one acts freely. Anger, greed, jealousy, fear, hatred, these afflictions are not personal but conditioned. When we see this, resentment dissolves, and a natural forgiveness appears. Wisdom says, this person is acting out of ignorance. Compassion says, may they be free from that ignorance. Wisdom lights the way. Compassion walks the path. 5. Compassion toward oneself. The forgotten teaching. Many practitioners aspire to compassion for others yet neglect compassion for themselves. The Buddha did not teach self-hatred or self-neglect. Quite the opposite. He taught that one must honor oneself, nourish oneself, and treat oneself as a cherished friend. The Buddha said, "You can search throughout the whole universe for someone more deserving of your love and compassion than yourself, and that person is not to be found." Self-compassion is not indulgence. It is the recognition that we, too, are beings subject to suffering. We, too, are imperfect, learning, evolving, and deserving of kindness. When we practice compassion toward ourselves, we become more capable of offering it to others. A heart that is wounded and neglected cannot truly embrace the world, but a heart that is healed becomes a refuge for many. To practice self-compassion, we must learn to speak to ourselves gently, to forgive our mistakes, to release the burdens of guilt and shame, and to accept our humanity with grace. When the heart becomes its own friend, the whole world becomes less frightening. 6. Compassion in action. The daily practice of a bodhisattva heart. Compassion is not confined to meditation halls or silent contemplation. It is expressed in how we speak, how we listen, how we respond, how we choose to act. Every moment is an opportunity to cultivate compassion. To practice compassion is to practice patience. When others are angry or irrational, we recognize their suffering instead of reacting with hostility. To practice compassion is to practice generosity. We give our time, attention, and presence, not only material gifts. To practice compassion is to speak with kindness. Words have the power to heal or harm. Compassionate speech uplifts, soothes, and brings clarity. To practice compassion is to refrain from harming. This includes restraining harmful actions and refraining from thoughts rooted in malice. To practice compassion is to forgive. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting harm but releasing the burden of hatred. To practice compassion is to understand. When we seek to understand others, conflicts dissolve and peace becomes possible. Compassion transforms ordinary life into sacred practice. Every smile, every moment of patience, every act of generosity becomes part of the path to awakening. 7. Boundless compassion. expanding the circle of care. The Buddha taught the cultivation of boundless compassion, compassion that extends outward without limit. We begin with ourselves, then expand to loved ones, then to neutral persons, then to difficult persons, then to all beings everywhere. The Buddha instructed practitioners to radiate compassion in all directions. Let one cultivate a mind of compassion, extending above, below, and across, without obstruction, without hate, without enmity. This practice dissolves the boundaries that divide self and other, friend and enemy. As compassion expands, the heart becomes vast and open, no longer restricted by fear or prejudice. In this openness, joy arises naturally, like sunlight emerging after a long night. 8. Compassion toward those who harm, the greatest challenge. The Buddha taught compassion even toward those who harm us. This is not weakness. It is not approval of harmful behavior. Instead, it is the recognition that hatred cannot end hatred. Only compassion can. The Buddha told his disciples, "If someone strikes you with a stick, see not the person but the suffering that drives the action." This teaching does not deny injustice, rather, it transcends it. When we respond to harm with hatred, we deepen our own suffering. When we respond with compassion, we break the cycle of violence. Compassion toward those who harm us is the highest form of courage. It reflects a heart no longer controlled by fear, anger, or pride. 9. The joy of compassion. A heart that rejoices in giving. Compassion is not a burden, it is a source of tremendous joy. When the heart opens, it discovers a sense of purpose and connection that transcends the small self. Compassion brings meaning to life. It fills the heart with warmth, softness, and light. The Buddha described compassion as a sublime abiding, a state of peace and joy stronger than any worldly pleasure. When we act with compassion, we feel alive. When we help others, we discover the happiness of selflessness. This joy is not fleeting. It is stable, nourishing, and deeply satisfying. 10. The compassionate heart is a path to liberation. Ultimately, compassion leads to liberation because it dissolves the illusion of separation. When the heart embraces all beings, there is no longer a self that stands apart. The boundary of ego becomes porous, then transparent, then non-existent. Compassion uproots greed, hatred, and delusion, the three poisons that bind beings to suffering. It nurtures kindness, forgiveness, patience, and equanimity, the qualities that lead to awakening. The Buddha taught that enlightenment is not the cold extinction of feeling but the flowering of limitless compassion. The awakened heart is a heart that embraces all beings without exception. When compassion becomes boundless, awakening is near. 11. Conclusion. Opening the lotus of the heart. Compassion is not something to be acquired from outside. It is the natural fragrance of the heart when the petals of ignorance fall away. Just as the lotus blooms unstained above the mud, compassion emerges from the heart when wisdom clears the mind of confusion. To live with compassion is to live in harmony with the deepest truth of the Dharma. To act with compassion is to embody the Buddha's path in daily life. To cultivate compassion is to prepare the heart for awakening. May all beings develop compassion. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings, everywhere, Be embraced by the boundless heart of understanding. Why wisdom without compassion is incomplete. Monks, nuns, and seekers of the path, listen carefully and reflect deeply. For I shall speak on a matter that lies at the very heart of liberation. The union of wisdom and compassion. For many wander this world believing that wisdom alone is enough. They seek to understand the nature of reality, to gain knowledge, to penetrate the emptiness of all conditioned things. But if wisdom does not soften the heart, if it does not open the mind to the suffering of all beings, then such wisdom is not yet complete. Just as a bird cannot fly with a single wing, so too the heart cannot attain awakening with wisdom alone. Wisdom is one wing of the great bird. Compassion is the other. Only when both are strong, balanced, and harmonious can the bird rise into the vast, open sky of liberation. 1. The nature of wisdom without compassion. Disciples. There is a kind of wisdom that sees clearly, yet remains unmoved. It is the wisdom that understands impermanence, but does not tremble at another's sorrow. It is the wisdom that recognizes non-self, but does not extend a hand to the fallen. It is the wisdom that speaks of emptiness, yet leaves the heart dry and cold. Such wisdom is like a lamp that gives light but no warmth. It illuminates the truth, but does not comfort the suffering. One who develops only this kind of wisdom may understand the nature of the body, may see the arising and passing of feelings, may comprehend the emptiness of thoughts, and yet his heart remains untouched by the cries of the world. This is not the wisdom that leads to liberation. It is wisdom incomplete, wisdom without fragrance, wisdom without life. 2. How wisdom gives birth to compassion. Monks, know this. When wisdom is genuine and deep, compassion naturally follows. For when one truly sees the nature of all beings, that they are born into a world of uncertainty, touched by sickness, aging, and death, driven by desire, fear, and ignorance, how can the heart not open? When one understands that all beings cling, because they do not understand, act foolishly, because they cannot see, create harm, because they feel harmed, how can kindness not arise? When the mind perceives clearly that every life trembles before suffering, every heart longs for safety, every being seeks happiness, even while moving in confusion, how could compassion not flow forth? Wisdom without compassion is like a seed that has not yet sprouted. But when wisdom blossoms, compassion is its natural flower. ***3. Compassion without wisdom is blind. Wisdom without compassion is empty. Disciples. There is a balance that must be understood. Compassion without wisdom can lead to attachment, to sorrow, to the exhaustion of the heart. It is like entering a deep forest. Without a lamp, the intention is noble, but one cannot see the path clearly. Wisdom without compassion is like a bright lamp, held by someone who refuses to guide others. The path is clear, yet the heart is unmoved. Thus I teach you the middle way. Let wisdom guide compassion, and let compassion nourish wisdom. When the heart is open, Wisdom remains humble when the mind is clear. Compassion acts without confusion. Together they form the complete path of awakening. 4. The great power of the compassionate sage. Monks and seekers, consider this. A person who understands suffering, yet turns away, understands the path, yet walks it alone, knows the medicine, yet keeps it only for himself. Such a person has not yet realized the fullness of this Dharma. But one who sees suffering and responds with gentleness, who sees ignorance and responds with patience, who sees hatred and responds with goodwill, such a person walks in the footsteps of the fully awakened one. The compassionate heart is not weak. It is vast, fearless, unshakable. It embraces all beings, without discrimination. It is compassion that led the Buddhas of the past to renounce palaces and kingdoms. It is compassion that led them to seek the end of suffering. It is compassion that led them to teach the Dharma for the welfare of all beings. When compassion and wisdom unite, the heart becomes boundless. Nothing can confine it. Nothing can disturb it. Nothing can darken its radiance. 5. How to cultivate the union of wisdom and compassion. Disciples, reflect upon these practices and cultivate them daily. 1. Begin with mindfulness. See clearly the rising and falling of feelings, the changing nature of thoughts, the impermanence of all experiences. This is the foundation of wisdom. ***2. Look upon the suffering of others as you would look upon your own. Know that all beings desire happiness and tremble before pain. This is the beginning of compassion. 3. Train the heart to remain open. Even when faced with anger, cruelty, or ignorance, see not the act alone, but the suffering that lies beneath it. 4. Cultivate loving kindness. Send goodwill to yourself, to your loved ones, to strangers, and even to those who oppose you. This softens the heart and protects it from hatred. 5. Reflect on interdependence. See that no being acts independently. All thoughts, words, and deeds arise from conditions. Understanding this dissolves resentment and nourishes compassion. 6. Cultivate equanimity. Let the heart be open, yet balanced, warm, yet steady, gentle, yet fearless. In this way, compassion and wisdom support and complete one another. 6. The fruit of a unified heart. Monks and seekers of truth. When wisdom and compassion become one, the heart is like a lotus that opens under the morning sun. No fear can penetrate it. No hatred can cloud it. No delusion can bind it. This heart is vast like the ocean, steady like a mountain, clear like the morning sky. Such a heart becomes a refuge for oneself and for others. The one who possesses this heart does not merely escape suffering. He becomes a source of peace, a giver of fearlessness, a lamp in the darkness. This is the heart that embraces all beings, without exception. This is the heart that walks the path of the Buddhas. 7. Closing words. Therefore, disciples, understand clearly Wisdom without compassion is incomplete. Compassion without wisdom is incomplete. But when wisdom sees clearly, and compassion responds fully, the path becomes complete, and liberation becomes possible. Cultivate both. As a bird cultivates both wings. With one you may rise a little, but with both you shall soar. May all beings be free from suffering. May all cultivate wisdom. May all awaken the heart of compassion. May all walk the path to peace. Why compassion without wisdom leads to suffering. Monks, nuns, and seekers on the path of liberation. Listen with a quiet mind, and let the heart become still like a calm lake. For I shall speak on a matter subtle and profound. The danger of compassion that is not guided by wisdom. For there are those in this world who feel deeply the pain of others, whose hearts are soft and moved by the suffering of beings. This is noble, this is beautiful. Yet when compassion arises unaccompanied by clear understanding, it can become a source of confusion, a cause of sorrow, and a path that leads not to freedom, but to deeper entanglement. Just as a traveler who walks into a deep forest, carrying a lamp with no light, so too is the one who lets compassion lead, but does not illuminate it with wisdom. Compassion alone is tender, but without insight, it becomes vulnerable. Compassion alone is generous, but without clarity, it becomes blind. Compassion alone is loving, but without equanimity, it becomes overwhelmed. Thus, disciples, understand well. Compassion without wisdom does not free the heart. It binds the heart further. 1. The nature of unguided compassion. Seekers. There is a kind of compassion that arises from feeling rather than understanding. It trembles at the sight of suffering, yet does not know how to relieve it. It wishes to help, yet grasps blindly at what seems kind, without seeing the long-term effects. Such compassion is like a tree, with soft branches but weak roots. A strong wind of sorrow easily breaks it. When compassion lacks wisdom, the heart absorbs the suffering of others, as if it were its own. One weeps with the grieving, despairs with the hopeless, and falls into confusion with the lost. This is not the way of liberation. This is the way of drowning. For compassion without insight is like collecting the tears of the world and pouring them into one's own heart until it floods. 2. How compassion becomes attachment. Monks, understand this truth. When compassion is not guided by wisdom, it easily becomes attachment. One wishes to protect, but begins to cling. One wishes to care, but begins to control. One wishes to give, but begins to exhaust oneself. Compassion turns into sorrow when one cannot save others from the consequences of their own actions. Compassion turns into frustration when others do not change in the way one wishes. Compassion turns into fear when the happiness of others becomes the measure of one's own peace. This is not compassion that frees. It is compassion that binds. The compassionate heart, without wisdom, tries to carry the world on its shoulders and collapses beneath its weight. 3. Why wisdom is the guide and guardian of compassion. Seekers. Consider this carefully. Wisdom does not harden compassion. It purifies it. Wisdom does not reduce compassion. It strengthens it. Wisdom does not cool compassion. It steadies it. When the mind understands the law of karma, it no longer seeks to interfere with another's path of learning. When the mind sees impermanence, it no longer clings to the wish that things must change immediately. When the mind recognizes non-self, it no longer absorbs the suffering of others as if it were its own burden. Wisdom says, be present with the suffering, but do not drown in it. Wisdom says, help where you can, but accept what cannot yet be changed. Wisdom says, offer love, but release expectation. Wisdom is the compass that keeps compassion from losing its way. ***4. The Bodhisattva's balance. Open heart, clear mind. Monks. Those who walk the path of great compassion must also walk the path of great clarity. The Bodhisattva sees the suffering of beings, yet remains unshaken. He extends his hand, yet keeps his heart rooted in equanimity. He does not take on the sorrow of others, but shines light upon it, so they may find their own way. He does not rush to rescue, out of fear or attachment, but acts wisely, seeing the ripening of causes and conditions. Such compassion is vast like the ocean, deep, steady, and immeasurable, not like a shallow pool that overflows with a single rainfall. The Bodhisattva walks into the world's suffering, not to be overcome by it, but to transform it. And this is possible only when compassion and wisdom stand side by side. 5. The three dangers of compassion without wisdom. Disciples. Understand the three dangers that arise when compassion is unbalanced. 1. Emotional overflow. One becomes overwhelmed by others' pain and loses internal stability. This leads to sorrow, fatigue, and despair. 2. Enabling ignorance. One may offer help that actually increases suffering in the long run. One may relieve temporary discomfort while reinforcing harmful habits. 3. Loss of equanimity. One reacts impulsively, driven by emotion instead of insight. This clouds judgment and dims the path of liberation. These dangers arise not because compassion is wrong, but because it is incomplete. 6. How to cultivate compassion that leads to freedom. Disciples on the path train with diligence in this balanced way. 1. Practice mindfulness. See your own feelings clearly, so you do not confuse compassion with emotional reactivity. 2. Reflect on impermanence. Know that every condition arises and passes on its own time. 3. Understand karma. Recognize that each being must walk the path shaped by their actions, intentions, and choices. 4. Cultivate equanimity. Let the heart be open, but not unguarded, soft, but not unstable, loving, but not clinging. 5. Offer help with humility. Serve where you can, and let go where you cannot. Act without attachment to results. Let kindness flow, like water that nourishes all, yet clings to none. When compassion is supported by wisdom, the heart becomes a refuge not only for others, but also for itself. 7. The fruition of balanced compassion. Seekers. When compassion and wisdom unite, the heart becomes a field where suffering cannot take root. Such a heart is not shaken by sorrow, not burned by anger, not hardened by disappointment. It becomes vast, capable, fearless. Compassion guided by wisdom is like a strong tree. Its branches shelter the weary. Its roots hold firm in any storm. This union is the path to true peace and complete awakening. Closing words. Therefore, monks and seekers of truth, understand this well. Compassion without wisdom leads to suffering. Wisdom without compassion leads to coldness. But when compassion embraces wisdom, and wisdom guides compassion, the heart walks the middle path. Steady, noble, and free. Cultivate both, as day and night follow one another. With compassion you feel the world. With wisdom you understand the world. With both, you transcend the world. May all beings develop clear wisdom. May all beings cultivate boundless compassion. May all walk the path that ends all sorrow. The union of wisdom and compassion in Buddhist practice. Children of the Dharma, listen carefully, with hearts open and minds still. Just as the calm lake reflects the moon only when undisturbed, so the truth of this teaching will reflect clearly in the mind free from agitation. Today, I speak to you about the inseparable union of wisdom and compassion, two qualities that, when cultivated together, open the path to liberation and the end of all suffering. 1. The two great wings of the awakened heart. Just as a bird cannot fly with a single wing, so too can the human heart not rise above suffering with only wisdom or only compassion. Wisdom without compassion becomes cold. Compassion without wisdom becomes blind. But when these two wings move in harmony, the heart soars beyond fear, attachment, and confusion. Wisdom, panya, is the clear seeing of reality. Compassion, karuna, is the trembling of the awakened heart in the presence of suffering. When they come together, they form the complete vision of the enlightened mind, a mind that understands deeply and loves boundlessly. 2. How wisdom purifies compassion. Children, understand this truth. Compassion, guided by wisdom, is like water guided by a riverbank. It flows without drowning, nourishes without destroying. When compassion arises without the clarity of wisdom, one may attempt to help yet become entangled in the suffering of others, carrying burdens that do not belong to them, or becoming lost in sorrow, anger, or attachment. But when wisdom illuminates compassion, you perceive what can truly be helped, what must be accepted, what belongs to others, what arises from causes and conditions beyond control. Thus the compassionate heart becomes steady and unwavering, not shaken by disappointment, not burdened by expectation. 3. How compassion softens wisdom. And children, know also this. Wisdom, without compassion, can become sharp like a blade. It can divide, judge, and separate. When the mind sees clearly but the heart does not feel gently, wisdom becomes dry and distant. One may speak truth, yet cause harm. One may understand impermanence, yet lack warmth. One may know the path but fail to guide others toward it. Compassion softens wisdom as rain softens hard earth, allowing seedlings to grow. Through compassion, wisdom becomes patient. Wisdom becomes gentle. Wisdom becomes a refuge, not a weapon. Thus wisdom becomes beautiful, radiating kindness instead of cold detachment. 4. Their union, the true path of practice. Imagine, children, the lotus that rises from the mud. Its roots are in the earth, but its petals open toward the sun. Wisdom is the sunlight. Compassion is the fragrance. Practice is the stem that connects them. To cultivate only one is to grow crooked. To cultivate both is to rise beautifully. In every breath of practice, unite these two qualities. When you see clearly, let the heart be soft. When you love deeply, let the mind be clear. This is the union that leads to liberation. 5. The skillful means of balanced practice. Children of the way, I will show you how wisdom and compassion can be united in daily life. Practice them as you would tend a fire, sometimes adding fuel, sometimes giving space, always observing carefully. A. When suffering appears, begin with compassion. Do not turn away. Let the heart open like a lotus in sunlight. B. When confusion appears, bring in wisdom. Look deeply. What is the cause? What is the nature of this feeling? C. When action is needed, use both. Let wisdom choose the path, and compassion walk it gently. D. When silence is needed, use both. Let wisdom hold the tongue, and compassion hold the heart. In this way, every moment becomes practice. Every encounter becomes learning. And every breath becomes a step toward awakening. 6. The middle way between indifference and attachment. Children, listen well. Compassion without wisdom becomes attachment. Wisdom without compassion becomes indifference. True practice avoids both extremes. The awakened heart helps without clinging, cares without fear, loves without possessing, acts without demanding reward. This is the middle way where wisdom and compassion meet. It is not cold detachment, nor is it emotional entanglement. It is the freedom to love without losing yourself, and the clarity to understand without turning away. 7. The fruit of their union, boundless peace. When wisdom and compassion are united, the mind becomes like a lake that reflects the mountains without distortion, like a sky that embraces clouds without resistance, like a sun that warms all beings without discrimination. Peace arises not because the world becomes simple, but because the heart becomes spacious. With wisdom, you understand the nature of suffering. With compassion, you embrace all beings who suffer. With both, the mind becomes vast, fearless, and deeply at ease. This is the peace that cannot be shaken by praise or blame, gain or loss, pleasure or pain. 8. The path forward. Children of the Dharma, the union of wisdom and compassion is not a distant ideal. It is cultivated in the small moments. When you listen deeply to a friend, when you forgive someone who has hurt you, when you observe your anger without feeding it, when you act with kindness even when unacknowledged, when you see suffering clearly and respond with a gentle heart. In these moments, The lotus of enlightenment quietly unfolds within you. 9. Closing teaching. Remember this eternal truth. Wisdom is the eye of awakening. Compassion is the heart of awakening. Together they form the complete Buddha within you. Walk this path with steadiness and joy. Let your seeing be clear. Let your heart be soft. Let your actions be rooted in both understanding and love. In this union, suffering dissolves, as darkness dissolves in the rising light. Practices to cultivate wisdom. Children of the Dharma, gather your minds and open your hearts. As the lotus unfolds only when touched by the morning sun, so too does wisdom reveal itself only when the heart is calm, sincere, and ready. Today, I will speak to you of the practices that cultivate wisdom, practices that clear the dust from the mind and allow you to see reality as it truly is. Wisdom is not a gift bestowed from the outside. It is the unfolding of a truth already within you. Like a lamp hidden beneath layers of cloth. Let us now uncover this lamp together. 1. The first practice. Mindful awareness of the present moment. Children, the seed of wisdom lies in mindfulness. Without mindfulness, the mind wanders in shadows, chasing desires, fears, and illusions. When you breathe with awareness, when you sit with awareness, when you walk with awareness, you begin to see what is truly occurring, instead of what your mind imagines. Mindfulness is the doorway to insight. Through mindful attention, you observe the arising and fading of every thought. You see emotions come like waves and go like waves. You realize that nothing you cling to is permanent. This simple seeing is wisdom in its earliest form. It is like the first light of dawn before the full sun rises. 2. The second practice. Examining the nature of body, feelings, and mind. Children, when you observe the body, you understand. This body is composed of earth, water, fire, and air. It changes, it ages, it dissolves. It is not I, it is not mine. When you observe feelings, you understand. Pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral sensations arise due to causes and conditions. They come and go like clouds in the sky. When you observe the mind, you understand. The mind is a stream, not a fixed entity. Thoughts arise and disappear. No thought can be held. No thought defines you. Seeing this clearly removes ignorance. And when ignorance dissolves, wisdom arises naturally, like clear water appearing when the mud settles. 3. The third practice. Deep listening and reflection, Dhamma Vicaya. Children of the Way, wisdom grows not only through silent meditation, but also through deep listening and contemplation. When you hear a teaching of truth, do not accept it blindly. Do not reject it blindly. Instead, hold it gently. Turn it over with a calm and open mind. And see whether it leads to peace, clarity, and freedom. Ask yourself, does this teaching end suffering? Does it bring kindness to the heart? Does it remove delusion? Does it align with the nature of reality? This examination sharpens the sword of wisdom. Without it, teachings remain mere words. With it, they become living insight. 4. The fourth practice. Seeing impermanence in all things. Children, wisdom cannot flourish if one clings to the belief that anything is permanent. Observe the changing nature of all phenomena. The body changes moment by moment. Emotions rise and vanish. Relationships form and dissolve. Even mountains crumble and rivers shift their course. When you see impermanence clearly, the heart loosens its grip. Attachments weaken. Fear diminishes. Anger melts away. This recognition of impermanence is not sorrowful. It is liberating, for it allows you to live in harmony with life, rather than resist its natural flow. 5. The fifth practice: contemplating the interdependence of all beings. Children, understand this truth. Nothing exists alone. All things arise in dependence upon countless causes. The tree depends on earth and rain. The rain depends on clouds. The clouds depend on wind. Your very breath depends on the trees. Thus, all beings are linked in a vast, delicate web. To harm another is to harm oneself. To help another is to help oneself. Seeing this clearly gives rise to wisdom that is spacious and compassionate, free from selfishness and narrow vision. 6. The sixth practice: non-attachment and letting go. Children, the mind that clings cannot see clearly. Clinging blinds the eye of wisdom. Letting go is not losing. Letting go is freeing the mind from chains it unknowingly forged. Release your fixed ideas, your rigid identities, your need to control, your insistence that life be other than it is. As the heart releases, wisdom enters like wind entering an open room. Clinging closes the door. Letting go opens it. 7. The seventh practice: cultivating silence and solitude. Children, the world is noisy, and in constant noise the voice of wisdom is drowned. Seek moments of silence, not as an escape but as nourishment. In silence, the mind becomes clear like a polished mirror. Insight surfaces naturally. Truth speaks in the language of stillness. Even a few breaths of mindful silence can open the door to profound understanding. 8. The eighth practice: living with ethical conduct, sila. Children, wisdom cannot grow in a heart filled with remorse or conflict. Ethical conduct is the fertile soil in which wisdom takes root. When your actions are harmless, when your speech is gentle, when your intentions are pure, the mind becomes calm, and calmness supports clarity. Ethics and wisdom are not separate. They are two friends walking the same path. Where one grows, the other follows. 9. The ninth practice: opening the heart with compassion. Children, do not think that wisdom is cold. True wisdom is always accompanied by compassion. A heart that feels deeply is more capable of seeing deeply. Compassion protects wisdom from becoming harsh. Wisdom protects compassion from becoming blind. Together, they form the complete light that guides one to liberation. Thus, when the heart is open and the mind is clear, wisdom arises like a full moon, shining through the night. 10. The 10th practice: learning from all experiences. Children, every moment of life can become a teacher of wisdom. Pain teaches impermanence. Joy teaches gratitude. Loss teaches letting go. Conflict teaches patience. Silence teaches inner truth. Nature teaches interdependence. If you look with an awakened heart, every step is a lesson, every breath a revelation. Wisdom is not limited to scriptures or meditation halls. It is woven into every experience you encounter. Closing words. Children of the Dharma. Wisdom is not something distant that you must chase. It is already present, like fire hidden in wood. Through practice, reflection, and mindful living, you gently kindle this fire until it burns away delusion and illuminates your path. Walk this path with steadiness. Let each day reveal a little more truth. Let each breath carry you deeper into clarity. And as wisdom grows, so will peace, compassion, and freedom. May your eyes see clearly. May your hearts open fully. May wisdom guide your every step toward the end of suffering. The path to enlightenment through balanced heart and clear mind. Children of the Dharma, come closer in heart and mind. As the moon reflects itself upon still water, so too does truth reveal itself. Only in the heart that is balanced, and the mind that is clear. Today, I shall speak of the path that leads to enlightenment through harmony. The union of a serene heart and a luminous mind. For enlightenment cannot be approached through feeling alone, nor through thought alone. It is the blossoming of both, like two wings that allow a bird to fly across the sky of liberation. Let us walk this path together, with gentleness and unwavering sincerity. 1. Children, understand first. A heart without balance cannot hold peace. The heart that is ruled by longing rushes toward what it desires, and suffers when it cannot have it. The heart that is ruled by fear hides from life, and suffers even when nothing threatens it. The heart that is ruled by anger burns itself, even before it burns others. And the heart that is ruled by delusion wanders endlessly, seeking satisfaction where none can be found. Thus, I say to you, a heart unbalanced is like a cup overflowing. No wisdom can stay within it. To walk toward enlightenment, you must first steady the heart. Not by suppressing it, not by ignoring it, but by understanding it. Balance arises when you see every emotion as a passing cloud in the vast sky of awareness. 2. Children, know this. A mind without clarity cannot see the path. If the heart is stirred by emotion, the mind is clouded by confusion. A mind that clings to opinions cannot see the truth. A mind that chases fantasies loses itself in dream after dream. A mind that clings to identity and pride closes the door to wisdom. And a mind filled with distraction cannot recognize what is real. Thus, I say, a mind without clarity is like a lamp covered in dust. The light is there, but it cannot shine. To walk toward enlightenment, you must clear the mind, as one clears a garden of weeds, so that understanding may blossom. 3. The path arises when heart and mind walk as one. Children, enlightenment is not reached by choosing either the heart or the mind. It is attained when the heart and mind are brought into harmony, like two strings tuned to the same pitch. When the heart is balanced, emotions arise gently and pass without disturbance. When the mind is clear, thoughts arise lightly and disappear without residue. In this harmony, you begin to see the world as it is, not as your desires paint it, not as your fears distort it, not as your memories demand it. You see reality with freshness, with innocence, with wisdom. This seeing is the beginning of liberation. 4. Children, learn the first step. Still the heart through mindfulness. Close your eyes. Bring awareness to your breath. Let each inhalation be a soft beginning. Let each exhalation be a gentle letting go. As you breathe in, know that you are breathing in. As you breathe out, know that you are breathing out. With each breath, the waves of the heart grow calmer. With each moment of attention, the storms of emotion settle. A balanced heart is not free from emotion. It is free from being controlled by emotion. In this stillness, the heart becomes a peaceful lake, reflecting truth without distortion. 5. And learn the second step. Clear the mind through insight. Children, once the heart is steady, turn your attention to the nature of all things. See the impermanence of every sensation. Observe the arising and fading of each thought. Recognize the changing nature of the body. When you see clearly that nothing stays the same, nothing can be possessed, nothing exists independently, delusion loses its power. This is how clarity arises. From direct seeing, not from belief. Thus the mind becomes like a polished mirror, in which reality reflects effortlessly. 6. Children, the balance of heart and mind gives rise to compassionate wisdom. When the heart is calm, and the mind is clear, compassion flows naturally, like water from a spring, and wisdom shines naturally, like the sun unobstructed by clouds. Balanced heart births compassion. Clear mind births wisdom. Together, they form the path to awakening. Compassion without wisdom can lead to sorrow and confusion. Wisdom without compassion can become cold and distant. But compassionate wisdom, the union of these two, is the light that guides one to complete freedom. 7. Children, walk this path in daily life. Do not think enlightenment belongs only to mountains, forests, or meditation halls. Every moment is a doorway. The moment you breathe, the moment you listen, the moment you speak, the moment you act. Let your heart be balanced. When conflict arises, let your mind be clear. When decisions appear, let compassion guide your actions. Let wisdom guide your understanding. This is how the ordinary becomes sacred. This is how every step becomes a step toward awakening. 8. Children, when heart and mind are one, awakening blossoms naturally. The lotus does not try to bloom. It blooms when conditions are right. Likewise, you do not force enlightenment. You simply cultivate the conditions that allow it to unfold. When the heart is balanced, suffering finds no home. When the mind is clear, ignorance finds no refuge. And in the harmony of heart and mind, awakening reveals itself, like a sun rising over a silent horizon. Closing words. Children of the Dharma, may you nurture balance within the heart, and clarity within the mind. May compassion soften your journey. May wisdom illuminate your steps. May understanding free you from all inner storms. Walk gently. Walk sincerely. Walk with awareness. For the path to enlightenment is not far away. It is found in each mindful breath, each kind thought, each moment of truth. May your hearts be at peace. May your minds be clear. May you walk the path with courage and serenity, until all suffering is ended.